So welcome everybody. My name is Elena Gustavsson. I am the Director of Business Resources. You are joining the Justice Forward Fund information session. Today we will have a presentation that will be happening with Dan Winslow, our Director of Business Lending and Early Care and Learning Programs, Ben Green, our Business Navigator, and Emma Enoch, our Loan Officer. And if you all will just give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And I'll hand it over to you, Emma.
Perfect. Thank you, Lena. If you could actually hop to the next slide, that would be great. Awesome. So again, welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody joining us. We are the Vermont Community Loan Fund. Based here in Montpelier. You will likely hear us refer to ourselves as VCLF. We are a community development financial institution, and as I'm sure many of you are aware, in the nonprofit sphere, we love our acronyms. So a community development financial institution is often referred to as a CDFI. And a CDFI is basically a type of lender that focuses on mission-based lending. So our programs focus on affordable housing, community development, early care and learning child care centers, food, farm, and forest businesses, and general small businesses in this great state. But today we're going to focus on our newest program that we're launching, the Justice Forward Fund. Alina, if you can hop to the next slide, and I'll hand it off to Dan to share a bit more about the program.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you, everyone. So the origins of this program came from us reflecting as far back as a 2019 period that while we had effectively deployed capital into several areas that were part of our target market or target goal as a CDFI, such as women-owned businesses and food, farm, and forest businesses, we were really lacking in representation among BIPOC-owned businesses in our commercial lending portfolio, so our small business loans, regardless of to which industry. And so we began to kind of review why that had happened and what were the obstacles we were encountering in deployment of funds to that, to people in those communities. And what we found is, as we were undergoing that kind of self-reflection and analysis, is there was the murder of George Floyd, and that really, I think, galvanized us to find at least a better solution for deployment of commercial capital to BIPOC-owned businesses. And we can perhaps get more into the reasons why, if there's questions about that, some of the structural issues we found with lending there that we're attempting to address with this new program. But I'll turn it over to Ben to kind of explain more about the GFF and building it out.
Thanks, Dan. So yeah, 2021, I'd say, was largely spent exploring what VCLF was capable of doing, both operationally, but also legally. We also spent a lot of time educating ourselves, figuring out how we could best go about improving our lending distribution and capabilities, and kind of questioning how we could make ourselves more accessible. So a lot of that work included stuff like internal reviews of loan policies, plenty of research and analysis, and a lot of conversations with local organizations, many of whom are on this call right now, some of our funders, small business owners who we work with, and members of our board. We also participated in several workshops and series revolving around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and created and hired the business navigator position, which is intended to increase our collaboration with other like-minded organizations, but also improve our availability of staff and resources to businesses in Chittenden. We ultimately ended up coming up with a Justice Forward Fund that we thought ran counter to a lot of the lending industry's most restrictive practices. And we thought could provide capital to small business owners who had never really had the opportunity to build their own wealth. 2022 has largely been spent piloting the product, putting operational infrastructure in place so we can efficiently work with applicants, and figuring out how to get this product in front of small business owners who want it and would benefit most from it. To date, we've approved 4 loans, and we are currently working on another application, but we are completely open to accepting or speaking with anybody who's interested in the program. The rollout process has admittedly taken a little longer than expected, but we really felt like to ensure the success and longevity of the Justice Forward Fund, we needed to make sure all of our T's were crossed before officially launching. Next slide, Alina.
So it looks like I'm up again. There are several key features of this product that, like I said, are designed to address some of what we hope to make our capital more accessible, basically. So the first is to make sure we're effectively targeting people who've been excluded from the traditional credit markets, basically the traditional commercial credit markets. So what we envision to be a principal marker to ensure we're targeting people who have not otherwise had opportunity is this program will have a personal net worth maximum for an applicant, and that number is $36,150. I'll post in chat a research paper that was written by Brookings that kind of talks about the racial wealth gap, and I think offers some insight to why we chose that particular number in case there's interest in that. And there is also a personal income maximum based on family size, just to make certain we're effectively, like I said, targeting those people who need this kind of assistance, because what I'm going to talk about in the next feature, this is a reduced interest rate program. The interest rate will range from 0 to 3%, depending on the net worth of the applicant. And so the idea is that by offering a lower interest rate, we can reduce or eliminate some of the concerns about potentially being financially extractive, and Ben will talk about some other features along those lines. And this is targeted initially as a microloan program. We're going to do loans from 1,000 to 40,000. That is essentially so that that's where we've seen the most need, I guess is what I'd say, is for more micro lending. And I think we'll evaluate as we go, but we think that will be a good initial loan size for people to ensure we're giving them the tools they need to set them up for success.
So we also will not be requiring collateral for this loan. So by getting rid of that requirement, we hope to be able to open up funding opportunities for folks who have not had the opportunity to build wealth. Can folks hear me okay? Okay, great. We also will not be including requiring fees. So we recognize that application and underwriting fees are pretty standard for our industry. But by eliminating fees, we hope to get rid of this burden, especially for folks who do not have the upfront capital when applying for a loan. There will be no minimum credit score requirement. So numerous studies and reports have shown how credit scores and reporting disproportionately affects and penalizes people of color as well as low-income folks. So we're still going to run a credit check, and we will still report in an effort to help folks build their credit history and scores, but that will not hinder someone's ability to get a loan with us through this program. We will also have a streamlined application and more quick underwriting processes. So our application is roughly 2 pages. We also will include a glossary with that to go over some industry-specific terminology for folks who are unfamiliar with that. Yeah, next slide, please, Alina.
So to initiate the application process, we are recommending that anyone interested reach out to a member of VCLF. Specifically, we're hoping people will email us at vclf@vclf.org. They can also call a phone number that's on the following page, though. We're hoping, after being contacted, a VCLF staff member is going to reach out to the applicant to try and schedule a follow-up call. The call will be used to learn more about an applicant and their business, and we'll ask for things like financial information and what the applicant intends to use the loan for. This call is also going to be used to determine if an applicant would benefit from business support during or after the application process. And if they would be referred to our Business Resource Center. VCLF will, assuming everything looks good, send an applicant a copy of the Justice Forward Fund application, which, as Emma just mentioned, is about a 2-page document asking for a handful of business and personal info. In addition to this application, you will need to submit a handful of supplemental documents, which include your most recent personal tax returns, your most recent business tax returns, if you have them, a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, and financial projections for the next year. Again, if we think, or if an applicant requests any assistance navigating the overall process or creating some of those aforementioned documents, the Business Resource Center is available and happy to help. Next slide, please. So here's some of the contact information and resources we've put together for the JFF. The email listed on here is intended to help with applicant intake, but in general, feel free to use it to ask any questions you might have about the program or the overall application process. The phone number listed there is my personal office number. If I'm unable to pick up for whatever reason when a call comes through, I will do my best to reach back out to an applicant as quickly as possible. I just ask that if somebody's leaving a message, please leave the best way to reach back out to you. And you'll see at the bottom of this page, we have a subpage on our website dedicated to the Justice Forward Fund, which you can access directly through that URL. Alternatively, you could go to our website, which is investinvermont.org. Press on the Borrow tab on our website's menu, and then select the Justice Forward Fund tab from there. I don't think we have any more slides.
Great, thank you, everybody. And then just as a reminder, we'll be putting that URL right into the chat. And we will also, Dan will include a link that he had with some additional information. And we'll take it from there. So I noticed that there's a few questions in the chat. And let me start at the top. Mary has asked Ben, what are the businesses represented by the 4 loans approved so far? A second part of that question is, What is the personal income maximum amount?
So, and anybody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. So far, the applicants have come from, I believe, 4 different industries. One is a restaurant, one is a transportation service provider, one is a property management business, and I'm actually blanking on the last one right now.
It's another service provider, wellness coach, life coach.
Okay. The personal income max amount, that is going to be 300% of the median, the federal median income.
Based on family size. And
yeah,
it was kind of intended that kind of what would be more of a principal marker for this would be the net worth requirement.
Okay, next question from Weiwei. What is the capacity of the loan program? There's a few questions here. What is the capacity of the loan program? What kind of outreach to BIPOC and New American organizations will be happening? Language access considerations. What kind of direct assistance will be available? What kind of cultural competency education will your tech assistance folks be receiving? So why don't we start with the first one? What is the capacity of the loan program? And Weiwei, if you want to expand, when you ask that question, what is the capacity of the loan program? Are you talking about how much money can be? Okay.
So I can field that first one on the in terms of a dollar amount and capacity. We've committed that we can fund $1 million worth of loans under this program. So how many loans that ends up being will depend. It could be at 25 to the mid 30s is my best guess based on projecting. But
the second question is what kind of outreach to the BIPOC and New American organizations will be happening? Let's see if I'm reading that right. I'm not wearing my glasses. What kind of outreach to BIPOC and New American organizations will be happening?
And just to follow up on that, just general outreach, because I can't see everyone's faces here or know what everyone's organization is, but I don't see a lot of BIPOC folks represented.
I think, do you guys want me to take that question? Ben, Emma, and Dan?
why don't you go for that one?
Yeah. So Weiwei, I am the director of business resources. And before we started this process, one of the first things we did was reach out to small businesses owned by BIPOC persons as far as we could identify. And we did that through the ACCD. We did that through a kind of crowdsourced Google document, as well as like word of mouth, to just survey and find out what was it that our small business communities needed, who were owned, operated, or led by our BIPOC community in Vermont. We've also worked with and checked in with organizations that are working with the communities that we don't work with as much as we would like to. And so that outreach, so this first initial outreach that we're doing is part of that process where we are reaching out to and have invited all of you here who are working within the New American and BIPOC communities to ensure that those communities are the ones that have access to this loan. I don't know if that answers your question, Weiwei.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I guess I'm just wondering here, because like I didn't hear about it directly through you guys. It's fine. I'm just.
I actually did contact you directly, and I didn't.
Oh, you did. Okay. All
yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what kind of direct assistance will be available? That direct assistance. So again, I guess I'll jump into that. So we have hopefully we'll have a total of 3 advisors in our department when all is said and done. And that direct assistance, we are generalist when it comes to advising. So we have resources that allows us to pull in third-party specialists But as generalists, we tend to help with things as basic as business planning, financial projections, et cetera. And then what kind of cultural competency education? I think that's a great question. It's something that we're aware that we need more of in our, we have done some, we have brought in CQ strategies as an example. We have our directors and some of our staff have done some DEI education. We also have a twice monthly DEI, or I guess we now call it our Justice Committee that meets to continue to explore both for ourselves as individuals and professionals, as well as within our organizations, what we are doing to ensure that we are culturally competent, that we are not ensure it, but that we're exploring that, understanding it, understanding our biases, and trying to remove those barriers. But as for specific pieces, there you are, wait. We're still working on that piece, but yeah, we acknowledge that we have still a lot more work to do.
And sorry, just one piece on the language access consideration.
Yes. Okay, so the other piece is, I'm not going to remember the acronym.
Is it the Vermont Language Justice Project?
No, it's
Oh.
the AAVA. Am I remember the? Oh, I have it here. I'll have to look at my. I have to look at my folder, which I can't get into right now. But
What,
it,
AALV?
thank you. Yes, AALV.
Alina, we used AALV when we were translating the ACCD website for the carve out of grants for minority and women-owned businesses. That was their terminology.
Yeah.
That the legislature named VCLF to help with the distribution of that carve out of grants. And we used AALV to translate all of the documents into 8 languages, both website and information documents and applications for that federal grant program back in 2020.
Yeah, so we'll do that. And then the other part of that as well is ensuring why we've included glossaries and why we are trying to make sure that the language is as plain as possible so that when it can be, that the translation will be as simple and straightforward as possible as well. So we're trying to look at it from both angles in that respect.
I would also recommend looking into the Vermont Language Justice Project because they have been doing a lot of translations currently on COVID-related materials, but they have a huge resource, which overlaps with AALV, to be honest, but they produce videos as well as audio messaging that can be sent out through WeChat, which is what a lot of communities use. So definitely would recommend looking into that.
I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, let me just take a quick look.
I can handle the specific geographic area question, and I guess it's from Lake Champlain to the Connecticut River and all the stuff in between, all of Vermont.
Next question, and if I mispronounce your name, would you please correct me? Is it Iad? Iad. What are some of the uses of funds?
I can field that one. So we envision and approved uses of funds would be things such as working capital, equipment purchase, vehicle purchase, inventory purchase, leasehold improvements, that sort of thing. We want to empower people to kind of pursue the best and most, whatever's the best strategy for their business, basically. And so we want to cast a broad net there.
Next question is, and again, please correct me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Is it Natty?
That's correct.
Thank you. What is the anticipated VCLF capacity for technical assistance to borrowers? So Natty, I don't know if I answered that earlier, but with our technical assistance, Again, as advisors, we're generalists, and if there is additional specialized technical assistance that needs to happen, we expect that we will pull in the resources that are available to us and to borrowers around the state. So that would include the Center for Women and Enterprise, as well as SBDC, farm viability, if that is included, and any of the other resources that are out there, CVOEO, et cetera. But we are just a party of 3 in our Business Resource Center. And we're really, I think kind of where we're at is we're anticipating, it's hard to know what people will need at this point, but we are looking to just utilize as many of the resources that we have available to us to ensure that people have the support they need to be successful with the loan. Next question, again from Iyad. Is there a specific area of service, geographic area for this program?
Yeah, I think I had kind of jumped the queue on that one, but basically all Vermont.
Okay. And thank you. I'm seeing some great kind of information and feedback in the chat. Thanks, everyone. And VTSBDC, I don't see any other questions. So what I want to do is just open it up. Are there other questions that folks may have that have not yet been addressed? And please feel free to unmute yourself and or raise your hand. Okay. Given that we're coming up on the hour, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. As a reminder, you all will get a link to this informational session. I also encourage you to please reach out to us if you have additional questions, concerns, feedback. We really want this to be as successful as we can possibly do within our own resources. We don't pretend to know all the things on this. So if you have feedback, we would really appreciate it. Okay. And with that, thank you everyone, especially for the resources and information in the chat. We will be sure to get this recording out to you probably in the next couple of days. We'll go from there. Oh, Will. Is the application available or should we email VCLF? Where did we land with that, Dan and Emma?
We can certainly share a copy with you just for your information, like you say, so you can understand kind of the application and the glossary and all of that aspect. So if anyone's interested, you can just email vclf@vclf.org and kind of identify your organization, and we're happy to give you a copy to look over so it can help you with your clients. But definitely we want people who are applying to email us at that address so that we can kind of go through with them and make sure we're addressing their needs appropriately as they apply.